emotion behind the no, if you take that out and actually just take the no for what it is and think about it and process it. I tell my kids, no is a gift.
I love that.
No is a gift because it gives you a moment to really pause and say, well, why? What's the why behind the no to lean into women? And it has historically been a female-founded business, is not what it is today. And hopefully it's not what it's going to be in 20 years, is because they do get that no more often. If you can master that, every mistake is a gift to learn. Every no is a gift to learn. So if you think of it from that perspective, I do think all of those hard times are really more of a learning moment than it is a hard time. And then all the wonderful times are an opportunity to just reflect the power that no actually has. And the no gives you an opportunity to learn and do something about it. Take action, where yes is just, to me, it's just a word.
Welcome back, CEO School. I'm your host, Suneera Madhani, and today I have Vivian Gonzalez with me. Vivian is such a powerhouse woman. She's a proud Latina and a mom, so I'm going to start there first.
Yes.
But she's done 20 plus years in private equity, 20 plus years in private equity, and now she's the founder of Park Capital Search and Evergreen, which is a talent search and advisory firm transforming how private equity companies hire and scale their leaders who run their companies and their portfolio companies. She's taken all of this knowledge that she learned in private equity, from exiting, from scaling, to building world-class teams. And now she's supporting all kinds of companies at all kinds of stages and styles and industries to build a world-class leadership team. I'm so excited to have you today on the show, Viv.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. There's so much I want to cover with you. Your experience in private equity is just incredible that you've gotten to be in the trenches. I would love for the audience to understand your background, and then we're going to dive all things. So in today's episode, Vivian and I have already there's so much to cover, but we're going to talk all things scaling. We're going to talk exit strategy. We're going to give you the behind the scenes of what is it actually like to sell to a private equity, the goods, the bads. And then of course, one of the things that we're going to talk about, which is having a team so that you can actually get to the exit and reach the milestones and goals. And so, Vivian, we've got lots to discuss. Let's get to it.
I'm so excited. I don't even think we have enough time.
We've got about around 40 minutes is what we're going to do. And then don't worry, we're going to have you back.
Deal.
Okay. So I'm so excited to jump into this. Tell me a little bit about your background from private equity and how it brought you to your company today.
Yes. So I've been in executive search now for almost close to 30 years, if I actually am going to age myself here, and started out not remotely close to private equity. And after 10 years of doing it, it fell into my lap, and it seemed so interesting and so far removed from what I've ever done. Did not think that it was even possible to get into those partnerships. But once I did, I just got hooked.
Mm-hmm. How? But what were you doing for them? What were the, tell me, give us more detail, give us more juice.
Yeah. So private equity tends to sit in larger cities, and we naturally do.
Yeah, we're in Orlando.
We're in Orlando. I mean, Disney is wonderful, but let's be honest, we're a small cap market. So there was a PE that actually came in and bought a business that was an active client of mine. And they came and they said, we need to hire our CFO. We need to hire a CEO. The folks that you've been working with here are just not at the caliber. And I had come to them and said, well, let me help you do that. And
because that's what you've been doing. So you've been in executive search. Yes. Can you explain a little bit about what is executive search and just a little bit more details? I want the audience to go all the way back to understand what is it that you do, which is place incredible talent.
Sure. So executive search, we basically step in and work with, whether it's the private equity operating partner or a founder, and we evaluate their C-suite and lean in and actually help them either go through a transformation or upscale and lift up the business with better talent. So we'll place the CFO, the CEO, the CRO, CMO, really across the board C-suite. Mm-hmm. That is what we're doing all day long.
The leadership bench.
Leadership bench. A lot of it is around relationship building, building a brand around us. People will come to us before they're even looking. I have CEOs that will call me and say, I don't think I'm ready yet, but if you see anything, this is what I think.
I just did that right before this episode. I was like, I'm not ready yet, but this is what I'm going to be needing next.
Yes. And so it's just such an exciting scenario to be in, because the minute I hear someone that says, I think I'm ready to make a move, it could be 6 months ago that we had that conversation, and I already know that this is going to be the perfect match. So it's
your
very
talent
much
match. It's matchmaking.
100%. Half of it is talent, and the other half is really understanding the chemistry behind that partnership.
So have you always been in business doing that? Was that your first business? Were you working for someone else? Like, what was the entrepreneurial path and like the first company that then got bought?
So I think what's been great about my history has always been I've worked for smaller startup environments. The first one was a fantastic company here in town. They had about 8 people. They were around for maybe 10 years when I joined. And I did not know anything about recruiting at that point. I knew I was recently married and decided I didn't want to go to law school anymore. I had done a semester and said, I'm done. What do I do now? And they gave me a chance. And I started there, and everybody did exactly the same thing, exactly the same way. And I just didn't think that that was going to work for me. If I did it the way everyone else did it, how was I ever going to get to the top? So
what did you do?
I just had to sit and think through, how can I get to that number one spot faster? And what's going to get me to stand out? And I would get there at 5 a.m. I'd be the first one there.
5 a.m. at the office?
Yes.
Wow.
My boss would end up ordering pizza for me at 7 o'clock at night. I'd still be there. But, I could do that. I didn't have kids yet. And I knew I wanted to build something. I didn't know what that was or what my purpose was, but I had to work towards that.
Wow, what a work ethic. I mean, that's incredible. I think most successful people, we skip that part of like sharing that grind, and like,
yes.
We all remember those days, and it does take those days. Like success, it does. It takes those early mornings. It takes those late nights.
It does.
So you're like first one in, last one out, learning the industry.
Yes. Everyone there had been there for 10 years together. They were all family or friends of the owner. And so I thought, there's just no way that I'm going to make this work any other way but coming up with a new way. So I just came up with a different formula than everybody else. And within 2 years, I was running the firm.
That's incredible. And you're so young.
I was super young. I was under 25 and I was running a company. We grew it pretty substantially. I was there for 13 years. I still strongly recommend the firm. They're just really good people, but they wanted to stay in a certain lane and I wanted to grow. And I went on to a bigger firm that needed something more, but also had the private equity exposure. And that's where it all started for me.
And that was it. That was like the private equity exposure. And you're like, now. And what was that private equity exposure? Also for the audience that might not be familiar with private equity, could you give us a little bit of background about private equity?
Yes. So private equity is truly an opportunity for you to gain capital, whether it's at a minority share or buying your company completely. And many times they come from similar industry than you. They should come from an industry than you to help you build the business past what you think you've been able to do, whether that's capital or strategy. There are just so many amazing private equity firms out there that I think sometimes they get a bad rap.
Yeah.
Because the reality is one size doesn't always fit all.
No, it doesn't. And I think that private equity, I sold my company to private equity in 2020. And that was a majority transaction, which meant that they came in and they bought majority shares of the company. They became the new owners of the company. But that did not mean that I was also not an owner and a partner to them in the company. We were minority shareholders in the company. And then eventually we did another transaction, which we sold that company to another private equity who bought the majority, who did a minority transaction, actually. It was on the second one, which meant that they bought more shares to own a minority ownership. And we had all of these different partners. And then there was too many partners and it was time to go. There's kind of like there's a founder cycle and stage to that where eventually the writing's written on the wall of like how much time I've got left before they're appointing another CEO, right? Yes. So, but it's not all bad. Like it's not all bad. And there's a lot of lessons, so many lessons. You've heard me share this over the last 6 years. My audience has watched me talk through and watched me go through sale, exit, growth, build again. But they do, it is a way for you to exit your company and they're very familiar with your industry. They're in it to come in and like make a profit. They see inefficiencies, but they know the market. So they're like, hey, we're going to take this asset and we're going to make it better and bigger and turn more out of it. Right?
100%. So I always, and this may age me, but I compare it to the Pretty Woman movie. It really was. If you think of from that movie, he actually would buy a company and then take them apart and sell them. And that was what private equity used to be. And today it's very different. There are so many private equity firms out there that are collaborative, but you have to know that it is a dating process and you've got to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
There is always a honeymoon stage. What happens after the honeymoon? That's what matters.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot. I do want to go into the exit process, but going back to the company was bought by private equity and they were like, hey, we need you to change this company around. But then we've got a portfolio of other companies.
Yes.
Go recruit the C-suite across the companies. And then you became a private equity specific search firm.
Yes.
And that journey has now led to Park Capital.
Yes. So really it was me starting to get my feet wet in private equity and realizing there's something here. And if I look at it strategically, not just from one deal, it's all the other portfolio companies they have under them. And so I ended up becoming basically a subject matter expert in private equity. And an operating partner would come to me and say, I need this, but then they would open the door to 10 other portfolio companies. And so imagine having an opportunity. Really, you could be busy with just one. But the excitement behind it is really what drives me. Is every single one is different. It's not, there's no formula to it. A lot of it is people separate from the talent, and understanding how to mold and build that puzzle piece. That piece of it's what's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then helping those CEOs and the founders when they're still in the business, but this is their first relationship with a private equity group, and telling them, hey, I'm here for you alongside the private equity group. Let me help bridge that gap. How can I do it in a way that builds trust? And there have been so many CEOs that I've worked with that have left and exited and then gone on to their next one, and they brought me with them because we built that trust.
That's amazing. And I love that you're in this space. I don't meet a lot of women in private equity.
There
right?
aren't a lot.
So there's not a lot. So let's talk about, why is it, so male dominated, and what are the opportunities for women, not just on the exit side to sell to private equity, but talk to me a little bit about the industry and the landscape for women.
I love this topic. So, it has been very much a boys' club environment for a really long time. At the beginning, when I first started working in private equity, and I would even work at the sponsor level, helping build out deal teams, I had this amazing COO come to me and say, I want you to build out my deal team. I don't want you to give me a prep school lacrosse player man.
Patagonia vest.
Yes, I don't want it. Said, I want to build something real here. And he came from very humble beginnings. And
no offense to all my board members.
For all intents and purposes, he would have fit that mold really well. And I do think that a lot of it is just there needs to be a movement. There needs to be a movement towards really getting women to see that there's opportunity here. But
are they seeing the gap? Honestly,
the only reason PE is seeing the gap is because their boards are leaning in and saying there's no diversity here. And that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as there's action taken behind it. We are starting to see an uptick in deal teams that have women in the room. Every single PE partner that I work with, I tell them, if you want an introduction to a founder, you have to give me a female.
I love that. So wait, say that again. I'm going to rewind my reaction.
Yes. If you want an introduction to a founder, so a potential portfolio company.
Yes.
It has to be a female that represents you.
Wow.
If not, I won't make the introduction.
No way. I love that. And they're like, fine. Because a
lot of them will say, well, we don't have anyone yet. I said, well, here's an opportunity to get one. There's about 15% of actual female representation in private equity. And to think that 15%, most of it sits on deal teams. Now, deal teams are
And
amazing.
What's a deal team?
Deal team is they are proactively going out and looking for potential companies to buy. They're evaluating the companies and then courting the founders to make sure it gets to a close. But past that, who the operating partner is the person that's actually managing that portfolio company. there's about 2% of women in that space.
Wow. And those numbers really haven't changed much. I mean, I've been in finance. It's pretty similar metrics there. If you look at, even women on leadership or boards, it's roughly the same metric there.
Yes.
You are also on the place of placing talent, and you're a female, minority leader that is championing to say, I'm going to put women into the deal team. I'm doing that, and you're making this change for us. So thank you for that. What are you seeing? When you put female candidates versus male candidates, what's the gap? Are there enough female candidates also in the market, in the pipe for you? And then when you do present them, who are the ones that are getting selected, or what are the things that you're seeing versus when the guys get selected?
Yeah, so nobody's ever asked me that question, and I love it. I don't think that there are enough women that we can present. And so I have to go and really dig for them. But I purposely do, because I do always want it to be a 70-30. Whether that's fair or not, I think that's part of my commitment to increasing the female representation. When I do present them, personally, I think that they actually outwork all the men.
Yeah.
And that's primarily coming from this position of needing to really show up and show that they've earned that spot. I don't think men necessarily feel like they have to show that they earn the spot, where women do.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that men are, even on the investment side, right? Men are they're so confident when they're walking into a room and they're given investment for their potential. Women, we've had to prove our worth. And so we feel like we're not ready, or we're needing to continue to prove to have the seat or have the spot. And so there's a lot that needs to change. Thank you for championing that change. And I do think that, money is now coming also into the hands of women. Women are building companies. And so that is also going to naturally change the shape of who we hire, right? It's traditionally been, male founded. Naturally, you're like, oh, that's my friend. That's the person they look like. There's the person across the table. It's familiar. And so when we have more women succeeding in building amazing companies and hiring, we're more comfortable. And also hiring, a woman at the table too. So I do think that by us building companies, that is what is the fastest way to change, because we can't sit here and wait for someone to give us the capital, give us the money. We have to do it ourselves.
Right. 100%. And I also think that that's where social media is coming into play. More women are leveraging social media to share their brand and what their potential, what they're capable of, what they're doing in the background. Yes, that may not always necessarily lean into revenue, but it gives these investors an opportunity to get to know them at a deeper level, and really understand why they should be investing in them versus just another male-owned business.
I think that is a place, absolutely. And it's that women are leaning in, because we don't need somebody else to tell our story. We don't need somebody else to do the thing. We're like, we've got this. I'll do it. I'm bringing in the customers. We're using social as a vehicle of growth. But if you look at male-founded companies, I actually talked about this on a panel that I was at in New York. It was a conference for the $1 Million Brand. And it was about creators and brands. And the question around was founders and social media, should we all have a brand? And the unfortunate truth is that it's the new website, but this is your fastest way to get traction, to talk to your ideal audience and your customers, to test your products, to build loyalty, build a community, and the fastest way to get to revenue without relying on capital. So women have tended to naturally gravitate towards it, to be like, I'm just going to grab it and build my business profile, whereas men are not, which I think is I also feel like there's an unfair way that women are having to do that, versus if you look at male-founded companies, they don't have visible founders. It's usually the female that has visible founders. And at the same time, it's an unfair thing that we have to do, but it's our fastest way of getting the visibility, getting the attention, and getting the fastest way to revenue. So we don't have to rely on our connections to go get the investment.
100%. And I think that's where social media is so important for female-owned businesses. They also have done studies where women-founded businesses are actually more successful if they hit past that 5-year mark, where men-owned businesses are not. So they are starting to lean into female-owned businesses a little more. I have PE clients that will say, we know that you have a big network in the female space. We want to talk to them. And I'm always happy to do that and open the door, but you have to introduce it to a female deal team member. So I've actually had two PEs that have hired women on the deal team just to make sure that happens.
Look at that good work.
Yes.
Heart, like.
But I think that it kind of leans into, I know we talked about this earlier, just not on cameras, the power that no actually has. If you look at most CEOs, even public company CEOs, that most of them didn't come from money, and they didn't think that this life or this world was possible. So to lean into women and, what it has historically been a female-founded business is not what it is today, and hopefully it's not what it's going to be in 20 years, is because they do get that no more often. And the no gives you an opportunity to learn and do something about it. Take action, where yes is just, to me, it's just a word.
I love that. And every no, I can count. I've stopped counting the amount of no's. Like I got so used to being told no. Like there was even moments where I was told yes. And I was like, wait, like they do want to move forward, or they are coming, like we're getting the next meeting, because I would just assume that I just have to go through, kiss all the bad frogs to like find the one.
100%.
But there is a level of like resiliency that you build towards it. It's not, it didn't shake me. Of course, rejection is hard, but at the same time, every time there was a no, it's about that follow-up to say, but why? What was the feedback? What are the questions that they're asking in every pitch that I gave that I was like, maybe I should actually put this on my slide deck because they keep asking me about this question. What are the things that they don't think, it's not a no, maybe it's a no, not right now. And so I've had investors that have come in later that were a no up front. And then as the business progressed, it was the right time. So it wasn't about the no, it just wasn't the right time. And so pay attention to the why. And it does suck, right? Like, yes, it sucks, but we can't live in victim mentality and be like, this is just what it is and not give it a try. If I had that mentality, I would not have been able to build Stacks. I would not have been able to build this company that employed over 400 people, that sold for over $1 billion, become one of the first female unicorns, all the impact that we made. If I was like, well, now I'm on like my 50th pitch and I've just been told no, it's not going to work. And you have to pay attention. And every time my pitch got better, every time I kept really great relationships, right?
All throughout. Emotion behind the no, if you take that out and actually just take the no for what it is and think about it and process it. I tell my kids, no is a gift.
I love that.
No is a gift because it gives you a moment to really pause and say, well, why? What's the why behind the no? If you can master that.
And not let it tie to your ego or let it tie to your, and of course, rejection is hard. We're human. Rejection is hard, but it's paying attention to like, okay, what can I learn from this?
What can I learn from it? Every mistake is a gift to learn. Every no is a gift to learn. So if you think of it from that perspective, I do think all of those hard times are really more of a learning moment than it is a hard time. And then all the wonderful times are an opportunity to just reflect.
Oh my God, this is so good. I have so many questions for you. I want to switch gears and talking about exiting because, you help match private equities also to awesome founders.
Yes.
That is part of, your company and and then you're like, great, now I get to also place talent for the company. So you're like, I want to match you because I know you're going to scale and then I'm going to get to place all the talent into your company. What are the things that, our audience is all women in business. This is one of the things I've been talking about for so long is that we need to build exitable enterprise level companies so that there's value to our company and that we can exit it. How does one get to an exit, or what are the things that an exitable company, what are the pillars that it has in common that private equities and investors are interested in?
Sure. So, it has evolved with time what those pillars have been. And a lot of it has just come from economic downturn, pre-COVID versus post-COVID. What private equity looks at has been different. One of the key differences that have really come up in the last few years are retention. And I do think that it's very undervalued in every business. It doesn't matter what you do. It could be a tech business. I know retention has always been.
Like customer retention.
Customer retention is tied to your valuation. And it was not that way in the past. It was more based off of
acquisition,
what your product was, what your potential for acquisition was. Today, it's what is the retention reduces the risk for a buyer. So whether or not you're in a retention specific is starting to measure that and looking at it and saying, is it above 80%? The sweet spot is 90.
Okay.
And what is that retention measured on?
So 10% churn
10%
is
churn.
like the ceiling.
That is if you're hitting that 10% or below.
That's a great stat for us to know. Thank you for that. Because then we have to pay in it. If you're not there, let's just go back and evaluate to say, what is it? Is it experience, journey, price, whatever, to hit that 10, like to not lose an attrit. And getting a new customer is more expensive.
Yes.
Than retaining your customer.
100%. And I think customer experience, having someone within your organization that's just focused on customer experience, that just, it solves the problem most of the time. And if anything, you're going to get your money back on that person tenfold. You'll have more deals on the table because your retention will be at prime. So retention's number one, and that has become the number one. And then it's knowing that you have built a business that doesn't require you to be there every day.
Okay, wait. Say that again, because I think that is the most important thing ever from going from founder to CEO is did you say to have the business run without you? Is that possible?
Wouldn't it be nice if you could have a business that ran without you? And then on top of that, know that it will be worth significantly more out in the market because it doesn't rely on you.
That is a mindset shift for women because we have to do everything. Everything has to be perfect. We need every caption, cut, every email that goes out, every customer this, that. Yes. If we don't have our touch on it, it's not good enough.
Yes.
And then we become the bottleneck and nothing can run without us. My entire CEO accelerator, founder to CEO, is built upon the 6 pillars of scale so that you can get to whether you want to exit or not, whether you want to sell or not, but to build a company as a CEO where it's growing and scaling without you. Systems are running without you. People are running without you, and profit is running without you. And wait, that is what builds value into the company? Who would have thought?
Well, and think, as women, we have so many responsibilities. Whether or not, you're a dog mom or you have kids, so many different things that come into play every day. It's very easy to get foggy brain.
I have it all. I mean, also age.
It's very easy to get foggy brain. So imagine if you could walk into the office every day knowing the business is running without you, and you did not have that because you had such a clear picture of what the next step would be. So to get to a point where you're much more strategic rather than tactical, that is what sets you apart in the private equity space for investors, because their mind shifts to, this founder really gets it. They understand what it is to scale. The business should not be a definition of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And if it is, then it's not something that's sellable.
Because it's tied to you.
It's too tied to you.
And then, I could hear her right now and she's like, well, Vivian, I don't have the capital to go hire this team. Right? What do you say to that?
You need to look at what's important in your day-to-day and then turn around and say, okay, if I were to invest in real talent, what would it look like 12 months from now? And if you're ahead, then it's a win.
It's an investment at the end of the day. It's an investment, and it's also understanding and building your business towards that. So yes, you might not be there now, but at the same time, what are your processes scalable? Is your product scalable? Just going through just the fundamentals of scale, right? People, process, profit, like the things that we talk about in CEO school every day. Going through that audit and then finding those bottlenecks and being like, great, what's the next thing that I can unlock? And then investing to unlock that. And that hire may not have to be a full-time CFO yet. It could be a fractional, right? But it is about up-leveling and investing into the team. I really will tell you, I don't meet a lot of, and now I think with AI, there is a lot of, which we're going to talk a little bit about, of how you view the world in AI with people. I think that there are things that we're able to move faster, but we still need humans to run the strategy and the business. And so people are still the biggest asset of every business. And if you look at female-founded companies, less than 2% are breaking the million, but we're also not investing in people to help us get there. So we're always going to stay stuck.
100. I think that's the biggest problem is as women, we overthink and overanalyze.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, all we're doing is holding ourselves back.
Yes.
We're holding ourselves back. So it's really looking at your business as if it were your child. How you treat your child at 2 years old when you're teaching them how to walk is different than when they're getting ready to go to college at 18. It's time to let them go, and you need to teach them how to do it all on their own. It's the same thing with your business. If you're in it every single day, holding their hand, showing them how to walk, it is not scalable.
I love this analogy because Michelle Taylor, who was on the podcast, right before us, right, like the last episode or the last 2 episodes, Michelle actually made this analogy about money and investing. She's like, we hold on to it, but it's like you give your child like an education, you do whatever, and then you want them to move back home and sit on the couch. Go to work.
Yes.
And that's what she was talking about from capital. And you're saying the same exact thing right now for business. Go let it go, let it grow.
I think because everything that we do, our actions come from a place of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to understand it from, a vulnerable place is important. If you want to build a business, you have to know that there's a time to teach them how to walk and there's a time to let go. And if you can't do that, it is not scalable. And the business is running you. You're not running it.
Agreed. And what was the whole point in building it in the first place, right? Like we literally end up with a job that is what is that really funny meme where it's like, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Work 24/7. Like that's not what this is about. We're missing out on our life. We're missing out on the dogs or the kids or the whatever life is like important. Business is a vehicle to live our best life. And it is the biggest wealth creating asset that we have. We need to treat it as such.
Yes.
And the people who are going to buy our businesses are these awesome, private equity companies who are they're looking for companies to buy. Like that is what that industry is lets us find companies to buy. And we've got to bridge that gap so that they are investing in finding more female-founded companies.
Yes. But they're also grading you when they're looking at
what are they grading?
business.
Talk about the diligence process.
What they're grading, when they're grading the CEO, and that's a piece that sometimes gets lost because you get so excited about the dollar amount. How much are you going to get? But then the question is, are you really going to stay in the business? And most of the time, private equity wants you to stay in the business because there's too much risk for you to just completely exit. But at the same time, they have to look at you and your decision making. Are you making decisions based off of what the business needs or what you want?
Mm-hmm.
So what a business is at 5 million is different than 10, is different than 30, is different than 100 million. And knowing how to scale that. If you think of hiring a CFO is expensive, but if that CFO can unlock capital for you and help you build from 30 to 100 in 3 years' time in all of these different ways, why wouldn't you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't want to pay at that $30 million mark for someone of value. But if they can get you to 100 million,
it's game changer, right?
It's game changing.
All of it is game changing. And I want to bring it back down even to the woman who is right now starting up, right? And she's at she's trying to get to the 7-figure mark. These principles of scale are still the same because it's that mindset that you're putting into the business now that will help you get to unlock every which level. And it's still, whether it's not the full-time CFO or maybe it's support, or just knowing your numbers, right? It's like knowing when to unlock the different people and tools, super important. So, but this applies at every single level. And I think, from a private equity standpoint, this is one vehicle. There's so many other vehicles. Strategics can come and buy your company, which is when somebody in your industry, like a bigger brand, would then acquire a competitor. That's what would be a strategic exit. A company buying a company versus a fund buying a company would be the difference between a strategic investor and a private equity investor. But they're out there. So now that she's interested, she's like, sign me up. I've been building this business. What are the things that she needs to, it needs to run without her, but she's like, okay, I'm in that mindset. Are there revenue amounts that we need to get to? Like, how can she make this happen?
Yes. So I watched this podcast recently that was this one sentence stuck with me is women that are over 40, that's not where At 40, you can start a business and be just as successful as if you started at 20. And that's because of the relationships and the contacts that you've built when you hit the 40 mark. And I think that's the same, even if you're at the 6-figure mark and starting up a business, or you're at 7 or 8 figures, the biggest investment you can make is the group that you surround yourself with. You've got to build, like CEO School,
a Millionaire Founders Club. I know. Yes. And that's how I met Vivian, actually, was she's part of our Millionaire Founders Club group. And I mean, it's just so magical to be around highly successful women. Iron sharpens iron. And there's so many amazing things. Like, I don't think we can share some of the details within the group, but there's literally companies that are exiting because of connections within the group.
Yes. And I think women, many times, we are wearing a lot of hats and we think we don't have the time or we don't have the money to invest, but you have to pay to be in the room. Men do it all the time. There are so many different executive CEO leadership groups out there for men. And that's what's so special about CEO School. And I'm sure that there are others that if folks in their market want to join, but it is really important to build a network around you. If something falls or if something breaks, you have to be able to pick up the phone and ask the question. And then when you hit that $1 million mark, great. I think there's a pain point between the $1 million to the $5 million. And then when you hit the $5 million mark, then it's really looking at, do you have the right talent in the right spots? Because who's been with you from the beginning that maybe is a friend or a family member, they may just not be in the right role anymore. It doesn't mean that they have to exit, but you need to put them in the right role so that you can keep building and growing.
Yeah, I feel like at every stage I've been through it as a founder at multiple companies, every different level, it like breaks and then you rebuild. And that is like supposed to happen. Like we think that, you know, all this breaking point and that tension that you feel right now of like, my system isn't working and you feel overwhelmed and it's everything feels like it's breaking. It's actually a good thing. It's supposed to break. That means that there's tension. Like there's like traffic, there's tension, there's customers, there's this. Like that's a sweet spot for a business. Now it means that you get to actually evaluate it and build the next, like what does like the next shape look like for the company? And that's what you're building towards. And guess what? You're going to build it perfectly. You're going to get this team in place. You're going to fix all the systems. You're going to handle the load and you've got this. And then it's going to break again. And that's that $10 million mark and it breaks again and you keep at it. And it's supposed to be that way.
100%. It's supposed to be that way. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. In fact, that means that your business is growing.
Yes.
And that's a great problem to have. So I do think there's an inflection point. At 10 million, that's when you really have to start upscaling the group that you have in terms of talent, building a strong C-suite around you. Leadership is expensive to invest in, but it makes the biggest impact the quickest. And it also allows you to step away from some of the tactical work and let you be more strategic.
I think that is a shift like between going from founder to CEO is putting the things in place so the business can run without you and run at ease. And then you can actually step back into founder mode.
Yes.
Like there's like another cycle. Like I remember going from founder to CEO and I was like, I don't want to be CEO anymore. I need to get a CEO so I can be in CEO because I want to go back into, you know, talking about the brand and going on stages and talking about our customers and shaking hands and, you know, getting my hands into things like back in the product. And that's back in founder mode. Yes. And there's nothing wrong in being in founder mode. That's what gets you to that point. You have to shift into CEO mode. And then you can go back to being in like fun founder mode, I think.
100%. But it's such a grind from start to probably that $5 million mark. It is such a grind. And so many times that you're going to try things and they're not going to work. But that's okay. That's part of sort of the power of the no or the power of a mistake that did not work. Like you look at it and say, how can I do this better?
Absolutely. And now to kind of shift gears a bit into hiring. And so for those that like might be ready for us, you know, I think this can apply whether you're looking for a director of operations or a director of finance or a manager of or a head of, you have match made talent into the best positions. Like, you know how to like, this person's going to be so great at this style of role. They're going to be successful. One of the reasons why we don't invest in talent as women is because it's risky. Right? One, it's a lot of capital. And then what if it doesn't work out?
Yes.
Okay. You tend to like make it successful for founders and for talent. What are some of the tips that we can take away from a hiring process, recruiting process, finding that right fit talent, like anything that you can give us so that we too can build our talent bench?
So one of the biggest differentiators I've seen when I've worked with female founders, and they're having to hire someone that they haven't had before, because those are the hardest ones, is you're not necessarily missing out. It's not a role that's sat there that suddenly is vacant. It's a role that you're creating. I've challenged them to create case studies as part of their interview process. So when you create a case study, as a female founder, I think there's this sense of comfort.
What do you mean as a case? Because I can say case study in like 5 different ways. How is it? What's your case study?
So case study, giving the potential candidate a pain point in your business and at that point.
Okay, like an example workflow. Yeah, of like, here's what I'm stuck in.
Yes. And that typically, that's after you've gotten to a point where you have your top 2 candidates, but you're still hesitant to invest the dollars in hiring someone. Mm-hmm. Are you making the right decision? Are you over hiring? Are you spending too much money? And the minute they do a case study where they're presenting an active pain point in your business, something that you would want them to take action on if they were in that role, and the female founder sees what's possible, that's where they get comfortable.
I love that. That's such a good tip. And that's 100% so accurate. It's like actually give them something to do. Like, and even whether it's that EA that you're hiring, and not across at all, like once you get down to like, hey, I'm making the decision, and see who actually does the task better or does that project better. And you can set that up front with a candidate to say, this is part of our interview process. So it's like, if you're not comfortable in doing that, don't waste your time here. Because I will be doing, even for our tech assessment, like tech, we do tech assessments. Like we like don't just trust that's what's on their resume and like the feeling that we have, like, oh, we vibed. Vibe is not how I'm hiring, right?
No.
Energy is
be.
But and values are important. Energy, these are also important pieces, but I still have to check to ensure that they're competent enough for the role.
So, yes. And it's really making sure that it aligns with how you process and how you approach all of your business decisions. Do they line up with that? And if they don't line up, are they complimenting you? You see that when they're presenting this potential case study or project. Are they willing to go above and beyond and actually put in the time to do it? How are they presenting it? Is it just a quick 1 page? They didn't even put anything together and they're just having a conversation with you? Or have they actually put time and effort into showing you data points and a real presentation that's someone that's going to go above and beyond? So by the end of that interview and the case study, I do think there's less risk and there's more comfort. And for women building, those are those 2 key levers that need to happen in order to make the investment: risk and comfort.
I agree. And I think risk is important. Men take risk all day long. We have to get comfortable. We're never going to have 100% of the data. So we actually hold ourselves back because we're not comfortable in making a decision without every single piece.
Right.
And we can't have 100% of the data all the time. We've got to know what our good enough threshold is to say, okay, great, this is good enough. Now we know most of the data. We're not just making it off of like a hunch or an instinct. So we're not, and many guys are able to shoot from the hip and just do gut. I think it's fact plus gut. And there's always going to be that little bit of unknown. And that's where the risk lies. But without risk, there's no reward either. So then we stay stuck in this non-movement because we feel like we haven't like nailed every single thing perfectly. And we keep getting stuck in that zone, which is hurting women every day in business.
I see it often. Is you've got a $5 million business that can get to 20 million in 18 months, literally 18 months, because you could hire someone that can really shift the trajectory and just hyper growth. And they're so afraid of making that hire or making the wrong hire. Instead of going from 5 to 20, they go from 5 to 7.
I agree with this. And another thing that I see that often is that also when you bring on the expectations of hires as well. Like when you bring somebody on, they are they are an expert in what we've brought them in for. There needs to be a proper 30, 60, 90-day plan. What does success actually look like for their role? Is it doable? Like, what are the parameters? And what I find for women is when they're finally ready to hire, they're like, I keep like, I've hired and it doesn't work out. And like, they were so quick to fire, but they've also put so much on this one person because we waited so long to hire. And then we're like, okay, fine, we love you. Oh my God, you're the best. And then here's a dump of everything in the business, go fix it. And then we're disappointed because they can't fix the hot mess that we've made. And that's not what that hire is there for. And then there's just this back and forth and it doesn't work out. So even for us, when we hire, know what is the value creation of that role.
Absolutely.
What are the outcomes that need to happen? What is the aligned expectations? Can this person deliver upon that? And that's a piece of what you're solving.
Yes. So that is part of what we do when we're taking a role to market. If it's a C-suite role, we work with the founder or that CEO and we're asking, tell us what the expectations are in the first 90 days. Tell us what they are in the first 6 months. What are some data points? What are some key projects this person will work on? You have to have a framework and stick to that framework. And it's the minute that you don't have a framework that there's not enough guidance. There's not a roadmap for that person. And there's too much ambiguity that the chances of them failing are pretty high.
Yeah, I see this all the time. And this is why having a professional is very helpful. So when you are ready to hire anyone that is director level above, C-suite level of, I'm going to say that again. That is why having an expert is super, super important. And that is what you do for companies. And so if you are a founder listening and you need talent, right? We've got Vivian here. I'm going to link everything in the show notes. Where can we find you? And if you want introductions to private equity, all the things, more questions, this is such an important topic. And we've got such a powerhouse expert that's within our community, that's within the group, that's within Millionaire Founders Club. Also, shout out to MFC ladies here too. We have some space that is opened up. We're clearing some energy. We're bringing in new energy. We are looking for amazing, ambitious women. The threshold is at 7 figures. If our business is at $1 million, apply right now. I'll link it into the show notes as well. We'd love to welcome you into our private circle where all the deals happen.
Amazing.
So tell us, where can we find you?
I'm on LinkedIn every single day. So
Okay.
LinkedIn is our main hub. Instagram, Vivian Gonzalez .Park Capital.
Okay, perfect.
Between those two, you will definitely find me.
I love it. And we'll link everything. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, go online, tag us, share it with a friend. This is CEO School. I know there was a lot of information that we shared. Don't feel you need to know everything as well. These are awesome nuggets for us to take away, go back and do some more research, send it back to us to say, hey, I'd love to further discuss these styles of conversations. Nothing bad happens when women make more money, and our businesses are our greatest asset. So continue to invest in the right talent, into the right people so that your business can grow. I'll see you next week on the CEO School.